Good morning and namaskaram to everyone. May this day, the day of birth, descent of the great soul Swami Vivekananda, inspire and motivate us to make a difference in this world. When he repeated the slogan, the sloka from Rigved, Uttista Jagrata Varani Bodhata, arise, awake, and rest not till the goal is accomplished. He's not talking of spirituality here, because in spiritual life, spiritual journey, you will never reach your destination. There is no destination. This might shock some people, but it's a sourless, infinite journey. And where would you put a full stop and say, I have attained? If you do attain, then you have surpassed God. And that's never going to happen. According to the readings of our Babaji Maharaj, he says the first ever saint who emerged and cleared all the sorts of inhibitions, shattered all those inhibitions, and moved on the path of spirituality to the pinnacle. There is no pinnacle either. He said that saint is still swimming in the central region. So when Swami Vivekananda quotes from Rigveda, arise, awake, and rest not till the goal is achieved. He's talking of the goal here in this world, goal of harmony, goal of happiness, goal of peace in this world, bringing down the heavens on this earth. That's what he is talking about. How are you going to do it? Unless and until we have clarity of mind, purity of the heart, and both are possible only when one meditates. So, our effort as volunteers, spiritual soldiers, I would like to say, it's to awaken, make people be aware of the need of transformation, bring about some clear thinking, better understanding, an honest approach to life. We can do this by setting examples. Lead a life in a way so that it creates piety in others, says Babuji. Once we are having a heart-to-heart talk in a very small group of abhyasis with Chariji. Chariji was testing us. He was questioning who would give the right answer. His question was, what's the number one quality an abhyasi should have? So we all started talking, deliberating on the qualities an abhyasi should have. Very enthusiastically, we said love. Some of us said surrender. Some of us said submission, faith, shraddha, practice. But all of them were denied, much to our surprise, and he says it's only the obedience. It is the obedience that wins the heart of the Master, and he showers his grace. It is because of obedience, out of obedience, that we practice. Not to gain anything, but just because my Master says so, my Guruji Maharaj ordains me to practice, so I practice. So anything, or rather everything that we do in our life, It should be guided by this conscience that all this is devoted or submitted at the feet of the Lord, whom I worship, whom I obey. Obedience is the number one thing. It is because of obedience the other qualities will follow in sequence. Someone was jokingly saying, in a life you need three things: obedient children, loyal friends, and loving wife. If you change the sequence, there will be problems. Loving friends, and you know what I'm talking. Otherwise, you might conclude and say, oh, you are targeting me. I'm not targeting anyone. But you change the sequence and see what happens. Your children becomes too loving and they don't obey. What will happen? They will not progress. They must obey every word Father talks about. Say. It's not the ego of Father that demands obedience from children. It is for their interest. Such a discipline, such a level of obedience is required. Loyal friends, instead of that, if you have very loving friends, then too there will be problem. If you have too many loving friends, your wife will be so jealous, she'll create hell in your life. The saga continues like that. Masters, they don't test. They don't take our exams in worldly life. But certainly there is nature that tests you out, checks you out whether you are fit for the next level or not. As you all know, Babuji Maharaj, before being granted a certain spiritual status, he was examined so many times. And one of the final tests was by Mother Radha. And she put Babuji in such a situation. Nevertheless, Babuji cleared that test so nicely. And that test you already know perhaps. She uttered certain words in her mind in the brighter world. Now, can you imagine a departed, liberated soul uttering some words in that dimension, and you have to pick it up from this dimension? It was a very difficult test. Nevertheless, Babuji said, my dear mother, you wanted me to repeat the same words, and these are the words. She was very elated. She said, so far you have treated me like your mother. Now you treat me as your sister. Anyway, so tests are there, not by the gurus, but existence will itself test you. Circumstances will check you out whether you are fit for the next dimension or not. Imagine everybody entering the state of liberation without being qualified. But who qualifies you? None other than yourself. Your vibratory level must match the vibratory level of that dimension. Otherwise, you are rejected. So lighter we become, higher we go to match that dimension. See. In ashrams also, we have certain principles. We don't enforce them. There are legal consequences and there are moral consequences. Making black money, for example. There are legal consequences. But will nature punish you for having black money? I wonder. There are many abhyasis whom we keep on requesting to do certain things in certain way. We encourage to follow certain principles to make harmonious and prosperous life in this village called Kanha. Those principles should be followed. If you don't obey, who will obey that? See, do you qualify yourself for the next dimension? If you don't obey, then you are punishing yourself from the next reward. Do you know one of the worst tests Chariji Maharaj underwent? Most of you will not be aware. But there was one message sometime in 2010 or 2011 which shook him from the ground. He asked me, at that time I was not in this position, nor was even declared as the successor. We were buddies, we were friends. So he said, Kamlesh, why is Babuji trying like this on me? I told him, Babuji is trying because he wants to give you something greater. He tests you out whether you are fit for it or not. Then I reminded him, see, Babuji was also tested and then given the position that he deserved. So I congratulated him, see. But that test was a horrible test. I cannot put this in front of you though. Anyway, I only pray that none of us are put through such tests, because I guarantee you, all of us will fail. If you cannot pass small tests, things like, don't drive fast in this ashram. It's a simple request. Cooperate with our construction teams. It's a simple request. But you go overboard. Who the hell is this ashram administration talking to me like this? Then it is your prerogative. We have nothing to do with your moral or spiritual life. I have said that even in my last talk.